I'm going to tell you a story today. Good morning. A story about chickens that happened a long time ago, at least 35 years. And it happened right across the street from our church, at our farm. And at that time, my husband and my son Paul and I lived there together, and we decided that wouldn't it be nice if we could have an egg every morning? Well, there was the three of us, so we thought if we would get 3 chickens, we would each have an egg every morning. Well, we already had animals. We had horses, we had pigs, we had cat, and we had a little puppy dog, and so we thought, well, 3 chickens, that would be nice. We got them. 3 brown, dark brown, almost black chickens. They were called reds, but I thought that they were black. Anyway, they came and we built a cage, and there they were, and we brought them food and water, and they were in the cage, and they laid, and sure enough, they laid eggs. But then I was thinking, well, you know, to have an animal in a cage, the horses, they could go out and run in the field, the dog could go out and run, the cat is all about, she goes wherever she wants to, and so I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if they could just roam around? So I opened the chicken coop, and sure enough, they hop out and they go around, and I thought, well, that's great. But we had one problem, and that was the puppy. And of course, a little dog loves to go and chase after anything that moves. And so my son said, well, we could solve that. And he taught the puppy to not go after the chickens. And it worked. Took a lot of work, but it worked. So happily, there we were, eating our eggs every morning and looking at chickens roaming in the garden. However, there was a fox, and a fox first took one, and then a couple of weeks later took another one, and there was only 1 chicken left. And I felt so sorry for that 1 chicken, all alone in that cage out in the yard. So I thought, how about if I bring the whole cage in the barn where the horses are and where the cat roams around and where we go back and forth, and then it wouldn't be alone. We did that. And so there was this chicken, and I thought, I really think she should have a name. So I called her Lucy. And then it just seemed that after I gave her a name, she became my friend. And she would come and talk to me every morning when I came to feed the horses and fill their buckets of water. There she was. And she would let me know that she wanted to be fed too, and she'd go, talk, 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 talk. And I said, okay, I get it. So then, when I went out in the garden and did my work and weeding and doing things, she would come and sit next to me, and then she would say, talk, 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 and she began to really talk to me. Then one day I was working in the front yard, and she was going close to the road, and of course there are cars in the road, and I thought, oh no. So I said, Lucy, come back here. She turned around and she came right back. And somebody saw me then and said, you mean to say that that chicken listens to you? And I said, yeah, it does. So she really became part of the family. If I was sitting outside on the terrace, she would come and sit under my chair, and always there, wherever I went, she would be there. I could take her in my arms. She was my friend. I told my very good friend Mary Avery about this, And she said, I have a chicken. And all the chickens that she was with are gone. She's now alone. Would you like to have that chicken so that they can keep each other company? I said, sure. She was a good friend, so I thought I'd do her a favor. So she brought the chicken. Well, I tell you, that chicken also had a name. Her name was Henrietta. Now that's a pretty fancy name, Henrietta. And I tell you, the name fitted her looks. She was a Plymouth Rock chicken. And the Plymouth Rock chicken is black and white feathers in a very nice pattern, and she's kind of fluffy and big, and she knew it. She knew she had a pretty fancy name, and she knew she was a pretty fancy chicken. So we let her out in the barn where the cage was, and there was Lucy. And immediately Henrietta goes up and she starts defending that cage and kicks Lucy out. And I stood there and I thought, oh, that's just not what I wanted. So, but I stood back, and Henrietta was standing in front of the cage and and Lucy looked like, oh. So I looked at this for a while, and Henrietta was absolutely, this is my territory, this is my house, you get out of here. I don't care if you were here before me, but you get out. So Lucy looked at her and thought, okay, goodbye. And so she went outside, and she sat in the sun, and she went looking for worms, and she came with me doing work in the garden. And when I went back in the barn, there was Henrietta, all by herself, looking, but not having fun. Now, this went on for a couple of days, and Henrietta was just bossy. And I looked at Lucy, and Lucy was like, okay, if that's what you mean, I'll let you be. And you know what? Every time I see a bossy person, I think of Lucy, because she just let Henrietta be. And you know what happened? Henrietta, after a while, she figured it out that she wasn't having any fun. And that other chicken, that Lucy, she was having a lot of fun. She was finding all sorts of nice worms in the ground and seeds, and she would get to be with me, this lady that brought them food and water. And so after a while, she figured out that she was at the losing end. So, as I said, every time I meet a person who is, I say, God, what do you want me to do? And then I think he whispers in my ear, just do what Lucy did. Let them be. Thank you.